Well, I know I'm in the minority here, but that game last night was the NFL's version of Big 12 football, and I don't apologize for finding this video edition of the NFL a bit tiresome. I understand the excitement of the game, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, after the Super Bowl last season, I mean, there was no defense in that game. Now this, I'm just not interested. Sorry. I shouldn't have said sorry because I don't apologize. Anyway, thanks for tuning into the OFN Today for this Tuesday, the 20th of November, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma, and for today's show, Dave Cokin of Covers.com is going to join me to wrap up the weekend in pro and college football with the latest action, headlines, injury updates, and more. Scott Engel from RotoExperts.com is going to call in at the bottom of the hour to discuss the latest player news in fantasy football. OFN Today is brought to you by ourlads.com, RotoExperts.com, and Covers.com. Covers.com features live scores, stats, and odds, and is considered the most convenient and entertaining source for sports news and facts with over 45 million visits a year. All right, speaking of Covers.com, let's welcome in my first guest and co-host for the next half hour, Dave Cokin. And how you doing on this Thanksgiving week, Dave?
Just fine. I had a very nice Monday, although I didn't get involved in the football game, and hopefully we'll keep it going all week long.
All right, very nice. And this is always a great week for football fans because we get and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they've always, I mean, recently over the years, they've changed the schedule around with college on Thanksgiving. Like I remember they used to have this Mississippi game on, and then I think they took it off, and then I think they had Texas A&M, and I could have sworn there were times on Thanksgiving where there was no college, and I know that they've taken the Hawaii used to play all the time, like on Christmas. Was it the bowl game on Christmas? I forget what it was, but it's like whenever it comes to the holidays, I think that they've kind of screwed around with the schedule. I think sometimes they've felt over the years that, maybe we shouldn't play on these big holidays, and I'm just glad to see that even though I know you've got NFL football and 3 games on Thanksgiving, that they're even, and look, it's not a huge game, but it's nice to have a college football game at night and a rivalry game, and it's also great that they have a lot of good games on Friday and Saturday, because without those Friday games, especially some of the big games, the Apple Cup and so forth, we just wouldn't have enough time to watch all of the games if they just blattered it on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of look at it and say, well, show me the games. I'll try and handicap them and move on from there. So, when you're in this business, you kind of lose the holiday spirit a little bit because they're all work days. But I am going to be eating some I'll be at an Italian Thanksgiving, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Well, I'm psyched, a lot more psyched than you are about this week's games because, again, I think that there are some really great games. I'm happy to see Washington State get an opportunity to not only win the Apple Cup for the first time in forever, but also, I haven't looked. Now, the rankings come out tonight, Dave, but I looked at them last week, and if Washington State actually wins this game on Friday, they have a lot. They got a good opportunity to move up because several teams ahead of them are going to lose. And if one of those top 4 teams were to lose, then they actually have a chance. Now, it probably can't be Alabama, but they actually have a chance, and I think that's pretty exciting. And, again, it's going to make for some good rivalry football. That's the other thing that I think is important to note. We get all the big rivalry games this weekend, including Michigan-Ohio State.
Yeah, from a fan standpoint, it's a great schedule. From my standpoint, it's not so great because I've always found that rivalry week, especially being the last week of the regular season, can lead to some peculiar results. And it's actually a week where I play thinner than I usually do. It'll be a smaller volume card for me. So, from a handicapping standpoint, I think it can be difficult because you have to try and gauge, particularly in rivalry games where one team doesn't have anything else to play for, whether they're going to actually treat it as their bowl game or not. A good example is the Egg Bowl. I mean, it's obviously a big game to both teams, but this is Mississippi's bowl game this year because of the fact that they're banned from postseason play, which, by the way, boy, call me a cynic, but I thought that entered into that awful call at the end of overtime last week against Vanderbilt. I thought Ole Miss got absolutely screwed in the overtime. That was a catch. And you can't help but wonder, hey, are they trying to get Vanderbilt to a bowl because it means more to the conference? I mean, I don't think that's it, but things like that shouldn't happen because it opens the door for the integrity question.
Well, I mean, the more blatant one possibly was the Utah State-Colorado State game. Not to say that the Colorado State player wasn't out of bounds, because he was.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, that's honestly, I thought they got that right.
Sure.
I thought it was an illegal touch.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah. It was a very weird. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to exactly know how to describe it because I wasn't at the game and I wasn't in the booth. Right. I'd like to blame the broadcasters a lot because they were completely clueless for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that was weird. And I was watching it because, you know, I just wanted to watch the game. I didn't have anything going on it. But, you know, I saw that, hey, potential upset here. I want to see what happens. And I'm in Mountain West country, so these games kind of hold more interest to me.
Yeah, sure.
And I knew right away. I said, well, I don't know if that's going to hold up or not.
No,
in fact,
yeah.
I tweeted it right away, and it turned out that it was an illegal touch. So
yeah.
I thought, you know, it was real close, but I thought they got it right.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I just, like I said, I think just the way that it unfolded, I don't know if there actually was a flag on the field or if it was one of those things where the ref threw his hat. The production crew was terrible. They didn't show you anything except, of course, whether the player was in or out. They didn't show anything with the officials. I mean, it was really hard to figure. Again, that's why, matter of fact, I'm going to have on tomorrow's show, Kelly Lyell, who covers Colorado State football, does a great job at the Mountain West. We've had him on before in the Mountain West Report with Robert Gagliardi. So that's going to be tomorrow on the OFN Today following Mark Lawrence's appearance. So we're going to find out because Kelly was there. So we'll find out exactly what he saw and how it felt at the game and also the implications. Because if Utah State loses that football game, wow, that would have been a disaster. So now they could still lose to Boise, of course, but they're right now the top team in the Mountain West as far as the rankings last week, right?
Yeah, well, they are now because, you know, Fresno lost that game to Boise.
Yeah.
By the way, the Mountain West was, I mean, the ultimate bad beat festival in the Mountain West this weekend. I wasn't involved in the UNLV-Hawaii game, but that was an awful beat, the UNLV backers. And then, actually, I was involved in this on the wrong side, and I've been doing this for like 40 years, and Air Force is one of the worst beats I've ever taken. That was absolute insanity at the end of that game. But Air Force, unbelievable.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? I recorded the game. I haven't watched it yet, and I wanted to record it because I knew it was going to snow, and so I wanted to make sure that, you know, anytime there's a snow game, I'm going to watch it, and I got lucky because and I did tape the Utah State Colorado State game, not knowing, of course, what happened. But I tape as many games as I can, and then I get lucky once in a while when you go, hey, wow, look, if I didn't tape this Utah State Colorado State game, I never would have saw this play. But, yeah, I still haven't been able to catch up to the Air Force Wyoming game.
Well, all I'll tell you is this.
I mean, I know what happened, but I don't know what you're talking about. What went down that was controversial?
Well, it wasn't controversial. It was just incredibly bizarre. I mean, this is a 13-point lead for Air Force with 5 minutes to play.
Mm-hmm.
Touchdown, and then Air Force kicks off the pass. The guy just goes down because they're going to run out the clock. And on 3rd and 14, the guy for Wyoming breaks through, goes all the way to the end zone. The play is flagged for holding. Okay, so it's going to come off the board. Only Air Force declines the penalty and lets the touchdown for Wyoming stand because the only way they can win
is get the ball back.
Is by getting the ball back down 8.
Okay.
I mean, I've never seen it before. You should have seen the look on the official's face because he couldn't figure out what the hell was going on.
All right. Should be fun. And he did it, and he did it too, right? With the their. I mean, it was. I thought. I mean, looking at the stats to see that. I mean, the kid Vanderbilt had been doing nothing all year. Chambers comes in.
Because Wyoming lost their quarterback.
Yeah, Chambers. He got hurt.
And they lost their best running back in the first series of the game. Nico Evans went down. It was just. But anyway, Van Pelt used it as his number one bad beat, and he thought it was the worst beat of the season to date. I would agree.
The worst beat?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was. I'm telling you. If anybody who saw it knows what I'm talking about.
Probably have to see it how it unfolded. Yeah, I got it recorded, so I'll try to envision it. Like it was going live, so I could see what you're talking about. But
well, it's unbelievable. It's one of the it's one of the craziest losses. It's the worst loss I've had since the Belk Bowl of a few years back with Cincinnati and Duke. It's just unbelievable.
And what particular reason did you like Air Force in that game? Because to me, that was a complete flip of the coin game. What stood out for you?
Oh, I think they're better than Wyoming, and
I don't know if they're better coached though.
And they were better. I mean, Air Force had this game locked up. They just it was just crazy.
And you didn't even care about. But again, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, as you know, I mean, with all the injuries, I mean that even if that threw everything out. But even with the snow, you don't mind going into a game and you know it's going to snow and you're okay with handicapping games that way.
No, I don't mind that.
Really?
Wind is an issue, and wind wouldn't bother Air Force anyway because they don't throw the football. So I look. Both teams are going to run the ball. By the way, the touchdown before the last touchdown was crazy as well. Because Vanderbilt hit a pass that you won't believe it when you see it.
Okay.
And it was on a 4th and 9.
All right.
It was just
I know. I mean, what did he average? Like 100 yards a game all year? And then he comes into this game, like you said, without the running back, and he throws for like two and change. So I don't know where that came from. But
and it was all in the last 5 minutes.
That's great. That is crazy. So anyway, and that's also important because that knocks Air Force out of a bowl, and
right.
Wyoming now has a chance for a bowl if they can win this week in New Mexico.
Because it kind of looks like New Mexico's quit.
Yeah, Bob Davies probably done.
I think so.
Yeah. So, matter of fact, I think it's great that Les Miles is coaching Kansas. I mean, that's great. I think it's great for college football that the small little football schools get some really good coaches. And it's not like this particular Kansas team, to tell you the truth, has been all that bad compared to a lot of these other Kansas teams. I mean, this particular Kansas team has actually played halfway decent for most of the season. They're a bad Big 12 team, but they're not pathetically bad like they've been over the years. So maybe Les Miles is stepping into a decent situation, and I'm interested in to see exactly if he could turn. You know what? Good coaches will turn programs around. I'm sure he will. How well he does, who knows? But I bet you he's got that team in a bowl in a couple of years.
I wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It's possible. They've got an awful lot of catching up to do against the Big 12 competition.
Oh yeah, sure. But all he has to do is get 6 wins. So going to a bowl nowadays isn't a great accomplishment. So.
Well, it's still real big to the schools.
Yeah. Well, for Kansas, it would be sure.
Yeah, and what he's got to do is schedule 4 bums.
Yeah, there you go. Then you upset one game, and then you get a home game that mild upset.
You follow the old Bill Snyder formula when he took over at Kansas State, which at the time, I know that's forever ago, but at the time Kansas State was about as bad as it gets.
Sure.
And what Snyder started doing was scheduling like UL Monroe and teams of that level in the first 4 games of the season. So they pick up 4 wins, and then all they had to do was pick up 2 more, and they were going to get to a bowl, and it worked. It made Kansas State a viable program, and then they started getting some good players in.
Yeah, unfortunately, he never changed that formula, and that's what was criticized. There was a lot of criticism about his scheduling, even when the program was going well. They wouldn't never play anybody. But yeah, that's a great formula for rebuilding the program.
I know he got criticized, but the other side of that is he never was going to get great talent into Manhattan, Kansas. I mean, they never had it.
No, he went the JUCO route like big time, better than any other coach.
He was phenomenal at that, but I don't ever recall going into a season and having Kansas State as a top 10 program.
Sure.
On paper.
Yeah, oh, yeah. He
So-
exceeded expectations, which made him.
he-
He was like Scotty on the Enterprise. He made it. He made you believe that things were a little less possible than they were, and then they were able to get the job done. And it made him look that much more smarter. And he was a great coach. But now his time is gone. He's also done. He won't be back. It's time for him to move on.
Yeah, I've heard conflicting reports. I don't know. He might come back for one more year. We'll have to wait.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure most fans hope he doesn't. It's time for him to move on too. So we'll see. There's Mike McIntyre's gone from Colorado. So there's
called that one before the season started, and then looked like an idiot when they started 5-0. But I guess I turned out to be pretty smart on that one.
You know what hurt him too?
Boy,
also was that the kid Montez never became a real good quarterback. Whether or not you want to blame the coaches or whatever, but that kid Montez, he ran around a bit. Sometimes he made a good pass here and there, but he teased you early in his career, and he never amounted to anything. So that hurt him.
Yeah, I was never that sold on him anyway. But
well, people were. That's the thing. Oh, Steven Montez is going to be. No, he never became that guy. So, because they lost that kid, Leofau, and that really hurt him because that kid played well when he was healthy.
Yeah. And look, it's just, Colorado's at a little bit of a disadvantage in that conference to begin with, and I don't really know what direction they're going to go in.
I'm hearing, what am I hearing? Some of the names that I heard, again, these are just initial names. I've heard Dino Babers. I've heard Brian Harsin. And please know, nobody, and in any Power 5, look, you want to take like a really, I don't know, maybe, and I know it's not going to happen, but if you want to go like to, I don't know, give me like a really bottom dwelling like Illinois or something, that's fine. But even Colorado to me is too big for Brian Harsin. Brian Harsin has done nothing that I don't think anybody could have done at Boise State following.
No,
Peterson.
I'd agree with that. It's not like, I know, what's his name? Jeff Tedford. He
would be a good one, yeah.
Well, I don't think he's going to go there. I think Tedford might end up at USC. We'll have to wait and see.
That's possible,
but,
sure. Yeah.
That would be a move that makes sense. I don't think Harsin has accomplished anything at Boise. I agree with you. I don't think he's accomplished anything at Boise that says, hey, this is the guy we got to get for our power program.
I mean, if he's really good, then you know what? Go ahead and win the Mountain West this year. Go ahead. Do it. Start there.
If he's really good, they never should have dropped off at all, which they have.
Sure.
It's just not the same program they were when Peterson was there.
And that Utah State game, that's going to be big for the Mountain West to see if Utah State can go into the blue turf and knock out Boise. Of course, I'd sure like to see them do it. I think they're a better team than Boise, but we'll see.
They are, but I'm not positive that Love is completely healthy.
Well, I mean, that's possible. I mean, it's one game, things didn't go well. Maybe it could have been the whole look-over game. We don't know. But maybe you're right.
Looking ahead. There's no question about that.
Maybe you're right.
But, he has been injured down the stretch. And,
I mean, because that was the thing about, was it a concussion? I thought it was a concussion that they were talking about even holding him out last week.
Yeah.
So now they played him, and I just hope that's not the case. I hope we've seen this before with these coaches, and I don't know. It's wrong to play these kids with the concussions, but hopefully the kid's okay, and I hope that's the case. I don't want to see Boise beat Utah State because Love isn't 100%. That would be really I'd be upset about that.
It's going to be a tremendous game, and you got to give it to Boise. I mean, they did do a great job against the Fresno team that I think is better than Utah State, and we'll see what happens this week. It's not a game I'm going to be playing. I know that.
And then you've also, of course, got the big Michigan-Ohio State game, so the line is right about where you thought it would be. Yep, four. And again, I'm not surprised by it. I don't like it as a Michigan fan. Usually in these spots, I'll 9 out of 10 I'll go with the dog. Because I think they're being completely disrespected, and I think teams like Michigan in rivalry games, and now they're the favorite, and they haven't won there since in 18 years. I'm sorry, but that's a lot of baggage for them to go into Ohio State with. But
one thing they got going for them though is
they're a better team.
Look, Ohio State is not that good right now.
No, they're not.
And Urban Meyer Urban Meyer looks like he's about 80.
I know.
On the sidelines.
I know.
Something's
I'm
not
going to
right
be
there.
so disappointed. I don't know who's going to be more disappointed, me or Tom Brady, if they lose to Ohio State. I mean, I'm just like, I hate these games too, because I don't like these games because they better win, and if they, it's like you don't really have anything going for you. You know, I hate that as a fan, because you always wanted to be the dog, but you're not. You're supposed to win. So if you don't win, you're going to feel really, really bad.
Well, that to me, it's exciting because all the pressure's on Michigan here.
Yeah.
And now we'll get to see how they respond.
No, that's
if
true.
If they go in and win the game, then they absolutely deserve, and then they have to win the Big Ten title game. But they should be able to do that. And if they do so, then they deserve to be in the 4-team playoff, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that I really do believe that Michigan and Notre Dame, if they get there, and it's the top 4 the way it is right now, I really think those two teams can give Alabama and Clemson a good game. I like the way Notre Dame is playing right now. I expect Notre Dame to win big against USC too. Maybe.
Well, so does everybody else. That line is just. I was surprised they opened the line where they did. To say the truth.
What is it now?
Well, it's going up too. It opened 8.5, and
now it's 10.5.
10.5.
Okay.
And I think it keeps on going. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 12.
I agree. USC, we saw at UCLA. I'm not surprised about that. I mean, you throw in your injured freshman quarterback, coach that everybody knows is gone. It's a bad mix.
Yep.
It's just a bad mix. So,
yep. I mean, there was a lot of money in UCLA. A lot of money in UCLA over the weekend, and it was a close game. But I don't think there was ever a point in the game where I thought USC was going to win.
Yeah. Well, that kid Joshua Kelly is a real good running back. I mean, that kid, that's a huge deal for Chip Kelly to have a guy like that in his backfield for the next couple of years with his offense. So
they're going to be. They'll be a bowl team next year.
Yep.
In 2 years, they could be knocking on the door for the Pac-12 title.
Now, before we get to this week's NFL games, so again, last night, I'm serious. Look, I get why people are excited about these games because the game itself was exciting as far as the score and the back and forth, and I completely understand all of that. I've just been watching football now for 40 years, and I'm sorry, but I don't get excited over those games. If it was a playoff game, that's different. Or if I was a fan of the Chiefs or the Rams, that would be different. But as an outside, fan, to me, it's just another high-scoring game where I'm sorry, I like defense. I just do.
Look, I do too. But the masses like offense, which is why they've designed the game so that points are going to be scored at a tremendous rate. They think that's good for business, and who am I to argue with them? And I got to tell you, I loved every second of the game last night. I thought it was high-level entertainment, and I had no bet on the game. I wish I bet the over. What's fascinating to me now is what happens if these two teams happen to meet again in the Super Bowl. I think you're going to see a total in the 70s.
Oh, and I'm sure they'll exceed it. Why not? These two teams can't stop each other.
No,
so.
And look, the skill level of the offensive players combined with the rules, holy cow.
Yeah.
These are great talents. And they've got all the advantages.
Yeah, and the refs set the tone in the first quarter. The refs were like in cahoots with the NFL. Let's make sure that this is a high-scoring game. I mean, the 2 pass interference calls on the Chiefs on the first drive were pathetic. And they just set the tone. It was like, okay, there you go. I mean, you're just not going to allow the DBs to do anything. So go ahead and go at it.
That's the way the league is set up now, and in college football is just the same. And that's why you've got these insanely high-scoring games, and most of them, quite frankly, kind of bore me. I will say that this one last night didn't. I mean, I had a great time watching the game, and I was hoping it would go to overtime so they'd play a little more.
So here's, I guess the other reason why it didn't really impact me as much is because when you come down to it, the game didn't mean anything. And again, I watched so many games.
I would disagree with that.
Yeah, but all right. Well, psychologically, that's what psychologically. I mean,
I'm talking about in the standings. It's a huge game.
But for what?
If the Rams lose that game, they're almost guaranteed to have to go through New Orleans to get to the Super Bowl. That was a really big game for the Rams and the Chiefs. Look, they haven't locked up the number 1 seed in the AFC yet.
Yeah,
So
seeds.
It was a big game.
I don't know. Seeds excite you. They don't excite me. So I let's get to the playoffs and let's get to some big games this week that mean bowls or playoffs in college, and that excites me. I don't get excited over seed games and home field advantage games necessarily. And maybe if they were in the same division, that would be exciting. Again, look, I get why you're excited about it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just my point of view. I just, again, look, McVay on the sidelines, dude, relax. Okay, you just relax. You just want to win a playoff game.
You're sounding like a cynic, Greg.
No, it's just because he hasn't won anything. Relax. Do it in the postseason. You know what your team did in the postseason last year? You played like a bunch of fools. You choked. So go ahead, get to the playoffs, win a freaking playoff game, and then go ahead and get excited. But, you don't even win a playoff game because your team chokes. I don't want to see it in the regular season because it don't mean nothing.
Well, he's 0-1 in playoff games. Kind of a small sample.
He'll win a Super Bowl. He's a good coach. I like him. I wanted him on the Jets. I wanted him to fire Bowles 2 years ago when he was available, and of course, Jets didn't listen to me.
Listen, the bigger question to me is this the year Andy Reid finally? Now, there's a guy who has a long-term playoff track record that isn't so hot.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
what's
that's
going to happen this year with the Chiefs?
I look at this playoff situation now because here's the thing I think is funny, though. Tell me it's not funny when every time the Patriots lose a game for the past 5 years, every single time they lose one game, everybody thinks the sky is falling for New England. Don't you notice that? They'll go in 6 straight games, they lose one game, and everybody freaks out that Tom Brady don't have it no more, that this isn't a good Patriot team.
Greg, look, the one thing that every gambler should know is that you don't pay attention to just the last thing that happened.
Sure.
But that's what most fans do.
Yeah.
And that's what most bettors do.
And most of the media.
Well.
You're correct, yes.
But that's what they do.
Yeah, that's right.
That's one of the things that we take advantage of.
That's right.
As sports bettors.
That's right. Absolutely.
So I don't want that mentality to ever change.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, that's the reason why we do this show, though, is to educate our listeners, so they don't. So they listen to you. So they don't listen to the regular media types who are all saying that the sky is falling with the Patriots. So. Yeah, I mean, when it happens, I'll see it, but I'm not buying in. If the Patriots play the Chiefs in the playoffs, I don't care if it's in Kansas City. Chances are, because I know what'll happen. If the Patriots play the Chiefs in Kansas City, everybody will probably be on the Chiefs bandwagon, and then the Patriots will win, and me and you will capitalize. So,
right.
So that's fine. But I don't believe the sky is falling just yet for the Patriots. But anyway, getting back to your point as far as the Chiefs and Andy Reid and the AFC, yeah. By the third quarter of that Pitt-Jacksonville game, and I'm telling you right now, my mind did not change by the final of the game. But when I was watching the Steelers play that football game for 3 quarters, the first thing that popped into my head was, this is why the Steelers can't win in the postseason right now. Because every time they look great for like 5 weeks and 6 weeks, this is what they do. Now, yeah, they came back and beat the Jags, but that's because the Jags can't beat anybody right now. So I'm not fooled by this. This is the Steelers. This is Mike Tomlin. They give him credit. Oh, way too much credit. Roethlisberger and all these guys get to the playoffs, face the right team, the Chiefs, the Patriots. They're going to lose.
All right, let me give you, because I got to wrap this up, but I'm going to give you one. You mentioned the Apple Cup. Washington State.
Yeah.
Washington plus the points. It's going right to the wire, and I think the Huskies will find a way.
Oh, no, don't say that. Come on now. See, that's another Ohio State-Michigan thing, because Washington State's the favorite, and they haven't beaten them in, what, like 8 years or something?
And Washington plays good pass defense, and the 2 good pass defenses in the Pac-12 that Washington State faced. They won both games, but they won them both at the end. and that was the Utah game where they rallied the fourth quarter, and the Cal game where they scored a touchdown with half a minute to go. Washington goes in and upsets Washington State.
All right, Dave. I appreciate the and maybe it's because I guess it's Thanksgiving week, so you give us a free one, even though we don't usually get free ones on Tuesday. So I appreciate that.
Well, I already bet the game, so.
Oh, you did? Why? You wanted the points?
I wanted 3.5 when it was available, and I took it.
Oh, okay. Is it still 3.5?
No, it's 3, and I got a feeling that I think it probably stays on 3, but I think it might tick down. We'll have to wait and see.
Dave, I appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week. Enjoy your Thanksgiving and a lot of great football games this week.
Happy holidays, Greg.
You too. That's Dave Cokin. And Dave is available at Dave Cokin. That's his Twitter handle. And you could also go to his website, which is smokincokin.com. And you can email Dave if you have any personal service inquiries by email. Again, it's Cokin, COKIN, at cox.net. So there you go. Dave Cokin, ladies and gentlemen. All right. What else didn't we get an opportunity to go over? Well, you know what? One of the other things we didn't get an opportunity to go over was Colin Kaepernick. Now, I am personally getting sick and tired of hearing with Alex Smith going down, and the Redskins need to contact Colin Kaepernick, and Colin Kaepernick wants to come back and play. We all know, any normal, level-headed people out there know very well that Colin Kaepernick does not want to come back to the NFL. Okay, every sane person knows it. Now, if Colin Kaepernick if he really wanted to come back to the NFL, if he really wanted all the things that his PR team has been telling us he wants, then all Colin Kaepernick has to do is hold a press conference. It's all he has to do. Because has anybody heard from Colin Kaepernick in like a year or more? I haven't heard from Colin Kaepernick. I don't even know what he sounds like anymore. So just anybody who thinks and is a sucker to believe that Colin Kaepernick actually wants to come back into the NFL, just I hope you're listening to this, okay? Because it's ridiculous. So it has, and by the way, I'm loving this. Because a few years ago when Tim Tebow went through this, and I understand Kaepernick was a better pro than Tebow, and he went to the Super Bowl and almost won one and all that stuff. But Tebow was a winning NFL quarterback. Winning. Okay? He had a winning record. Okay? He won games, and he couldn't find work. And it wasn't because of his talent. Because do you see the crap quarterbacks that are in the NFL out there right now? I mean, there's a lot of crap backup number 2 and 3s out there that Tim Tebow, if he actually worked at his craft, was better than. But the reason Tim Tebow was ostracized was the same type of reason. It was because of his personal views. That's it. His religious views were just too much for certain teams and organizations. Too much. And so I'm just happy that it happened to someone else. But don't fall for it, all right? All right, so let's. There's still some stuff to talk about, but and some of it will coincide with fantasy football. So let's do that. And of course, this is a short week, so you got a lot of big games coming up. 3, in fact, on Thursday instead of 1. So welcome Scott Engel from RotoExperts.com to the program. And how you doing, Scott?
Doing pretty good. A lot of fantasy fun on Monday night, but I guess the downside of that is these two teams now get to rest for a week. This is the last of the bye weeks in fantasy football to deal with. But it's you had 6 teams on a bye last week, but it doesn't feel as impactful as this week when you have the Rams and the Chiefs off, and you're going to have to be very savvy on the waiver wire to replace those guys.
Yeah, that is true. And when we take a look at some of the guys that are out there right now as possibilities, and again, that is only if you actually need to pick up anybody to potentially move into their lineup. I mean, the one guy that really stands out more than anybody to me, and I don't know if this is just an obvious one as the number one guy, and that would be Gus Edwards. And for me, it's because of the fact that I'm a Rutgers fan, so I knew exactly the type of player Gus Edwards was. Talked about him as a sleeper player last year in the draft. He wasn't even drafted. Somebody that I knew had an NFL body. His physical style worked in the Big Ten. He did it against Big Ten competition. And figured if he get a shot, he'd do a pretty good job. He got a shot. It was a perfect kind of combo with him and Lamar Jackson because everybody's looking at Lamar Jackson, and that opened some stuff up for Edwards. But no reason to think that Lamar Jackson ain't going to play again maybe for the next week or two. And I think Edwards is going to keep getting some opportunity and some reps. So I think Edwards is an obvious choice, isn't he, as one of the top guys this week?
Yeah, Edwards was drafted this year, right? No, he's undrafted this year.
Undrafted this year, right? Correct. Yep, he's a rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie. I wouldn't say that, we definitely expect Lamar Jackson to continue to start. If Joe Flacco is healthy enough to play, I don't know, or I don't think anybody knows what decision they're going to make.
Yeah, I get the feeling from what I heard that it's possible. I'd say it's less than 50% Flacco is healthy this week, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know how these guys feel for sure. With Edwards, he certainly sees the opportunity, and we know that the Ravens don't trust Alex Collins. They don't see Buck Allen as anything more than a mediocre pass receiving back. Ty Montgomery hasn't been there long enough. So the opportunity is there, and he's only owned in 0.2% of ESPN leagues. So he's going to be a very hot pickup, especially when people have Todd Gurley and Kareem Hunt off this week. Maybe if they need running back help. Any guy who has a chance to become the lead running back in any backfield, they're going to have people going after him.
Yeah,
but then
sure.
again, Josh Adams is he's not widely owned, but then again, he didn't have an impressive performance either, like Gus Edwards did. So you have to have the impressive performance, the chance to take over the job, but at the same time, you have to remember that, this guy is not going to start over your more established starters this week just because he faces the Raiders, because, one performance in relief doesn't indicate any sure thing, especially when you desperately need a key fantasy victory this week. In a lot of cases, you have to be careful about using him over a more established starter. Don't get too cute. Let's remember that John Harbaugh is not leaned on any one specific running back over an extensive period this year at all.
Yeah, and how many people do you think will be suckered into picking up Lamar Jackson?
I don't think it's a sucker pickup at all. I did it in two of my leagues last week, and here's why. With his rushing yardage, he gives you a pretty good floor. He can give you between 8 and 12 points with his rushing yardage alone, and then you tack on the passing yardage. And then he didn't even throw a touchdown pass or run one in last week, and he still had over 15 points. So he gives you a nice floor. And, they are playing the Raiders, too. If Lamar Jackson hits his upside, you could be looking at like 25-plus points.
Well, the thing is with the Raiders, and you don't have a viable quarterback. So, I don't know. I guess most leagues 12. So I guess it's possible.
Yeah, but you got to replace Mahomes or Goff this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're in one of those spots, then absolutely. And if you're looking for someone and your choices are Jameis Winston and those types of guys, because you have to pick them up off the wire and you don't have a backup, or, again, depending on what kind of league you're in, you have to pick up, you don't have more than one quarterback, then, yeah. I mean, if you've got two, that's different. But, yes, Mahomes, Goff, you don't have a really good number two. Your number two just happens to be whoever. Then I could see that with the Raiders, sure. Just talking about him as a talent. I mean, I agree with Marvin Lewis. I mean, first of all, long term, Lamar Jackson can't play like this very long. He'll get hurt. Secondly, part of the reason he ran so much is because he can't throw. And now the Raiders aren't probably capable of stopping that. So again, this week's a good matchup. But Lamar Jackson is not going to be a guy that you're going to be able to count on this season for more than just maybe a game here or there with the right opponent, like the Raiders. And then who knows? Flacco comes back after this week's game, and then it's just a 1 week pickup, and that's fine. You need someone spot duty, then it's not a bad idea. But forget long term.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you, because I think you make a lot of sense from an NFL perspective, but from a fantasy perspective, any quarterback that puts up the type of rushing numbers that he does, has to be considered a mid-range quarterback too in fantasy.
Well, yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that I don't know if I believe, because again, the rules in the NFL today are for passing, so I don't think the NFL, especially we've had this whole running. What was that stupid gimmick they had 10 years ago with the court with the running back getting the ball, Wildcat. So that worked for worked for a few months, and then everybody caught up to it. Nobody did it anymore. So I don't know, now that they've seen Lamar Jackson, basically that's what he's running. And I think that, NFL coaches, if they're good enough, and again, they have talent. I don't know if the Raiders are capable of that. But if they know what they're doing, they go back to the film, they look at his film, they look at the film from the Wildcat days, and they'll be able to stop him. He can't throw the ball. And because he can't throw the ball, one guy just shouldn't be able to run the ball as effectively as he did the first week when nobody had no idea what was coming. That's just my point.
Yeah, but I still think he's capable of 70, 80 yards every week.
Yeah, he's capable of that, and he gets a touchdown. Points. And he gets a touchdown, well, sure.
Right. You make all salient points when it comes to the regular NFL, but in terms of fantasy, any type of guy with this sort of rushing upside has appeal, whether he's a good passer or not. Michael Vick was never a consistent NFL quarterback, an erratic passer, but the fantasy upside was always there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he does play this week. Exactly, if he still can't really throw the football much. I am interested to see. Now, unfortunately, it is the Raiders, but I'm interested to see what kind of how the defense plays them and whether or not things change or not. But whatever. I mean, it'd be good for the game if he can get better in the offseason and learn to throw the football a little bit better. That's for sure. As far as, I tell you what, I know it's not now. What kind of as a quarterback now do you rate Kirk Cousins as far as fantasy? Because, I mean, I guess he's still a pretty decent quarterback because even though he always loves to put up these numbers like he did on Sunday night, it always happens, especially against the best teams when it really doesn't matter. So fantasy-wise, I guess he's still pretty decent, right?
Oh, he hasn't been in recent weeks. He's fallen into fantasy quarterback 2 range. The last few weeks have not been good. The amount of touchdown passes, the amount of yards is just not there. Right now, it's more reputation than anything. And a lot of times, we said it, fantasy players pay more attention to reputation than actual numbers. I'd be starting Mitch Trubisky every week over him.
Yeah, I hear Trubisky's a little banged up, but no reason to think he won't play on Thursday night.
No, I didn't see anything that he won't.
Yeah, so I think that just something to throw out there. All right, as far as some receivers, guys that might be out there and who you think may be more consistent than the others. You got DJ Moore. He's just got to be more consistent. Corey Davis, same thing, but that's a Mariota problem as well. And maybe even John Ross has had a couple of decent games, but that's because he scored. But DJ Moore's got to be the top guy, right? Because you're hoping that he's going to be more consistent. I mean, he's that talented. They just got to get him the ball more on a weekly basis, I guess.
Yeah, but all these rookie wide receivers are very, very inconsistent. Maybe outside of Kiki QT when he's healthy, all of these guys like DJ Moore, Torquan Smith, Christian Kirk, maybe a little lesser degree Anthony Miller. They can blow up one week and they're quiet the next. You can't go chasing last week with these guys.
And with the best potential kicker, if you need a kicker this week, you go after Matt Bryant, wouldn't you?
Yeah, certainly. But again, people don't look at the results, and very often with kickers, and some of the top guys are still out there. Like Kamai Fairbairn is still out there. People just don't look at the results when they come with the kickers. They very often look at reputation.
All right, and overall, how's your season going now? Another week before another what? We have 3 more weeks for the playoff start.
Yeah, we got 2 more weeks before the playoffs start, and winning record in 7 to 10 leagues and already clinched 2 playoff spots.
Do you have a team that you specifically like more than any others this season that you've assembled? Have you assembled like a really good team that you're?
My dynasty team has Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Adam Thielen, Robert Woods, for a receiver O.J. Howard, who's hurt, and Alvin Kamara.
That's pretty deadly, and I'm assuming that's a team that is one of the best in your league. Then,
yeah, that's 9-2. That's clinched the playoff spot.
Before I let you go, Scott, I just wanted to also let everybody know about the free 5-day Thanksgiving trial from Daily Roto. So, talk a little bit about that opportunity.
Yeah, Daily Roto is our daily arm, obviously, and our lineup optimizers have created 7 millionaires. And the advice as well, which is terrific from millionaire maker Drew Dinkmeyer and the staff himself. So you definitely want to check out this free trial and check out how it can do for you on Thursday.
Scott, appreciate it. Enjoy everything. The holiday, it's going to be great as far as the games in college and pro, and most importantly, fantasy football with the 3 games on Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the holiday.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend.
You too, Scott.
Enjoy all the football.
I will. Thanks. All right. That's Scott Engel, rotoexperts.com. A few other things before we wrap up. We talked about this last week. Remember, I was talking about John Gruden and how everybody was criticizing Gruden, and I read you what the owner said, and I've been Gruden's top defender for the past few months. And then I watched the end of the Raider-Oakland game this week, and boy, they sure appeared to be a divided, quitting football team, didn't they? They just appeared to be just like, we don't want to be here. This is awful. I don't like playing for Gruden. He doesn't know what he's doing. This is terrible. What's the season be over? Boy, isn't that what we got on Sunday with Arizona? Or correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. I mean, that's not what I saw on film. Sure seemed like a team that was pretty close. Sure seemed like a team that didn't understand that they had one win. That's what it looked like to me. So, again, noise from the media, especially with Gruden, jealousy noise, too much noise from the media regarding John Gruden, and it's all nonsense. Okay? Remember, believe your eyes and your ears, what you see yourself and what you hear, not what you get from the media or even some of these analysts that think they know what they're talking about. So that was good to see. Phillip Rivers, on the other hand, very disappointed about Phillip Rivers. I don't look at Rivers as a choking quarterback. I know he's, people will criticize him for what happened on Sunday. Look, I look at it sort of like what happened to Aaron Rodgers. Even Aaron Rodgers had the bad throw before McCarthy decided to be like McCarthy and punt the ball away. But that was a terrible pass by Rodgers. I mean, that was bad. That should have been first down. That was an easy. I mean, it was one of those things where you just. I mean, even the announcers didn't even say anything, which is not unusual. I mean, they should have picked up the fact that Aaron Rodgers should have made that easy pass, but it happens. And so I look at, and it's funny because Rodgers said after the game, and he talked about, look, we just got to get something. We need one thing. Cobb said, I don't know, we've lost before, but we haven't lost like this. And you know what it is? It's sort of like a combination of what both guys said. It's basically the team has got no confidence. Okay, they get in these close games. They're playing mano-a-mano with good football teams, but they can't close them. And that's the reason why Aaron Rodgers said what he said, because he knows if they can close the first one, they can go on a run. Because they have been playing good football for the past month. I mean, this is actually the best I've seen the Packers play as a team. Passing, running, defense in a few years. And yet they're not winning games like they should be. So I don't now, and that's why I keep saying, yeah, but if it wasn't for Mike McCarthy, because if any other head coach, like if it was a first-year head coach, new head coach, I'd be all over the Packers right now. believing that, one win and they're going to take off. But it's so hard. Even though I am going to put, I haven't taken the Packers yet this year, but they're 50-1 now. So to me, they're good enough at 50-1 for me to go, all right, I'll put a little bit of action on the Packers as far as the Super Bowl line, even with Mike McCarthy, because, hey, they're 50-1. But anything short of that, and it's just it is what it is. But yeah, with Rivers, it's not, he doesn't have the Super Bowl like Rodgers. But look, I think the problem is that not a lot of people remember, or I don't know. You got to go back a while because Philip's been in the league a long time. He's played in a lot of situations over his career where they haven't expected the Chargers to be the better team. So it's not like Philip Rivers has been to playoff games in games that they're supposed to win and lose. That's not Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers has won more games and pushed his team to close losses in big games when nobody thought they'd win. A lot more than he's lost games that they should have won, like on Sunday. So that's not what it is. Look, they went on a nice streak. They won, a nice little run. But you got to also remember they are playing in these home, quote unquote home games or not home games. So it's tough. It really is. You're not playing at home for 16 games. It's just not easy. I also don't blame Rivers because I blame Wisenhunt that the game plan was atrocious. Do you know why it didn't matter that Philip Rivers threw for 400 yards? Because you lost. And that's the reason you don't have Philip Rivers throwing for 400 yards in a game like this. There was no reason for it. You are the better team. The Broncos are not a great run defensive team. You have Melvin Gordon. Run the freaking football. Do what you do best. But Wisenhunt decided to be cute. Wisenhunt decided, you know what? They think I'm going to run, I'm going to throw. That was just, why? Why put Philip Rivers or any quarterback in a situation, even Drew Brees? Why do you think Drew Brees is the better quarterback now than he's been in the last couple of years? Because he's not asked to throw the ball as much. Every quarterback, even the great ones, are better when they're not asked to throw the ball as much. It's just a numbers game. And it caught up to the Chargers, so I wouldn't get too down on Philip Rivers because of one game. The good news is Bosa came back. And give him another couple of weeks, and he's hopefully going to be back, if you're a Charger fan, to the type of level that it needs to be to add that extra huge dimension to that defense overall. So getting back to Kirk Cousins, I mean, seriously, anybody who wagers on Kirk Cousins in a big game again at this point in time in his career until he actually goes out and proves it doesn't know what he's doing, because I'm not doing it anymore. I mean, that's it. I mean, he's just awful. He just is. And I am so happy. So, I mean, I told you last year how happy I was when the Jets did not get him and he went to the Vikings. I was ecstatic. He would have destroyed everything. I mean, I tell you what, right now, if Cousins was on the Jets this year, sure, you know what? They probably would be, what are they, 3-7? They'd probably be at least 5-5. You know what? At least 5-5. But with 90, with all that money tied up with him, I mean, they wouldn't be able to go out and get better players. There would be a longer process of rebuilding. You would have to count more in the draft and all that other stuff. Now, sure, they would have went in the draft and not used the pick on Darnold and all that, and I get that. But the bottom line is that I just much rather have Sam Darnold, who is not a complete player yet, but I feel confident that what I've seen of Sam Darnold, he is going to end up, give him a year or two, and he's going to end up a better player than Kirk Cousins. And you save all that money. So I'm not interested in Kirk Cousins. I mean, the Vikings did what they did, but they did it because they felt they were going to have a dominating defense, a really good running game. Fact is, if they can't run, like on Sunday, because they're playing a really good defense and their offensive line isn't very good, which is not, the Vikings have got to get better offensive linemen. But because they can't run the football, it's up to the defense, and the defense played pretty well, but not good enough. Bears' defense was better, and that wasn't supposed to be the case when the season began. The Vikings were supposed to be a better defense, or at least on par. Hasn't been the case. And if they have to rely on Kirk Cousins to win games more often than not, especially when they play the better teams, it's not a good formula. That's not what he's there for. He's not an elite quarterback. He may be paid like an elite quarterback, but he's not. And that's not why the Vikings overpaid for him anyway. They overpaid for him because they had everything else they thought, and he was going to be the guy to get him over the top. And all of a sudden, all that everything else has not been everything else. And I thought DeFilippo's some of his play calling and rotation with who I didn't even like what he did early in that game on Sunday night as well. And I even mentioned that because I know the Jets will probably be looking for a new head coach next year, and I know DeFilippo is probably going to be interviewed there. All right, so by the way, a couple more things, but before I get to that schedule. No Thanksgiving Day shows as of right now. Now, I haven't heard from Mitch Light yet from Athlon. We're going to confirm whether or not we're going to do a show on Wednesday or on Thursday morning. So there is a possibility that we'll do our college football show early on Thanksgiving. But other than that, looks like tomorrow is going to be a very busy day. We're going to have our ACC show. We're going to have our OFN Today, Mark Lawrence. We're going to go over 4 games with Mark. Then we're going to be joined by Robert Gagliardi, as I mentioned before, as well as Kelly Lyell, Colorado State. And we're going to talk about the situation there with Utah State, Colorado State, and the impact of the Mountain West Conference and the big game for Utah State and Boise State, et cetera, et cetera. So that is coming up tomorrow. And then that's it. So, because, of course, there's Friday games, so we're going to be busy on Friday, too. So, very short week for us here, but we'll get to as many games, of course, as we can. Again, I think we have 3 NFL games with Mark tomorrow. And then we're going to get into and then I'll fill in some other stuff regarding the NFL tomorrow as well. Updating the latest trends, injury concerns, and so forth, because no Ted this Thursday. So I'll fill in all that stuff myself with what I've got available tomorrow on the show. And then, of course, Mitch and I are going to go wall-to-wall on college football either tomorrow or early on Thursday. So keep that in mind. Carolina, by the way, going for 2 against Detroit. I was good with that. The only thing I was a little bit I didn't like was the explanation by Rivera after the game. I didn't understand why he said what he said. I didn't because it didn't jive with what I thought was the reason he was going for 2. I mean, he didn't. And now maybe he said it also because he didn't want to put his kicker down and call out anybody, but when your kicker misses an extra point, and I've said this before myself, if I have a kicker that I'm unsure that he's going to make extra points. Matter of fact, if I'm the Chargers, I'm going for 2 every time because I haven't been able to trust my kicker all year, whoever it is. So I just go for 2 every time. But for Carolina, and look, they should have scored a touchdown. That's why I think it's ridiculous for anybody to criticize. Why are you criticizing Ron Rivera for that? Would you have? Because look, I mean, I can get it if you're against it, no matter what. All right, that's your point of view. Okay, fine. But to criticize him even more because they lost. I mean, for what? I mean, it worked. It's just Cam Newton's got to make the pass. So I was okay with that because the kicker didn't make the extra point. And why do you want to lose the football game because you sent your kicker out there to kick whatever, a 38-yard field goal, whatever it is, because that's basically what it is. And he missed the other one. So why would I trust that he's going to make this one and I can just go for the win here? So I was okay with that. It really was. I had no problem with him. I just didn't like the explanation. I didn't really get that. Win and cover, by the way, took the biggest hit this week than I ever remember. The win and cover, we'll try to talk more about that with Mark tomorrow. Basically, we've talked about it before. You win the game in the NFL like over 85% of the time, close to 90% of the time over a season, you are going to also cover. That's just the way it's been in the NFL for years. And it was making a lot of good headway over the last few weeks. But then this past weekend, what a disaster. And it happened again on Monday night because the Chiefs covered. Actually, it was a push in some places. So if you did that formula this week, you won 7 games. You lost only 2, but you pushed 4. So that basically means 7 wins, 6 no wins. Now, I have not seen that ever as far as, again, win and cover in the NFL. So we'll try to talk more about that with Mark on the show tomorrow. And also, I've mentioned this before with Andrew Luck. We talked about it, remember, after the Philly game, the Hail Mary. And you had these analysts on TV talking about how Andrew Luck is not healthy, and because there was a lot of criticism about Andrew Luck for the past couple of years, and a lot of it is deservedly so. And it's not criticism because he doesn't want to be hurt. It's just you kind of get sick of it. You just want, I mean, you got to play or not. And a lot of people thought his career was over. So he gets in there, he plays, and he looks okay to me. Then he gets to the Philly game, and he gets taken out for the Hail Mary. And everybody, he can't throw the Hail Mary pass. His shoulder ain't right. And I'm seeing he's not doing. I mean, you're seeing what? What are you seeing? I'm not seeing what you're seeing. I don't know what you're talking about. And they took him out for a Hail Mary. That's fine. If the other guy can throw the ball longer, and you are coming off major shoulder surgery for the past year and a half, I am bringing the other guy in. Okay, I don't care. I'm bringing the other guy in. I'm gonna get my guy, my golden goose over there. I'm gonna screw him up for a Hail Mary, even though he's fine. I'm just not gonna do anything to screw him up. That's smart coaching by Frank Reich. Very smart coaching. The Eagles could use some of that right now. Anyway, so that gets brushed aside. The Colts got off to a slow start, and then all of a sudden, now they start winning games. We talked about it last week. Even though I didn't like the Colts in the game, I liked what the Colts were doing. And now I like them even more. You know, I've talked about the whole setup there. I think Ballard has done a fantastic job running that organization for the past couple of years. He's doing it right, bringing in guys defensively, bringing in guys on the offensive line. He's one off season away, one, depending on the cap. He's one from being a Super Bowl contender again. And Andrew Luck is, and remember I just said this a few weeks ago, don't forget, Andrew Luck is an elite quarterback. People forget. He is, and when I use the term elite, it's a lot different from most people. Now, most people use the word elite and they throw it around with like 15 quarterbacks. To me, elite is like the top of the top. It's like the top 5 or 6 players in the league, quarterback-wise. Andrew Luck's one of them. He is elite. And I'm sorry, but I think that's been forgotten. And I still think it's forgotten. I still think people just haven't caught up with the fact. Now, Vegas has. They're a 10-point favorite on Sunday. But the fact is, Andrew Luck is elite, and he's healthy, and he's got this team right where he wants them. And I tell you right now, Houston better watch it. Houston better keep playing well. I mean, if they keep playing like they did on Sunday, they're in trouble. As long as they just, because this winning streak for them is also going to end soon. And the Colts are going to be right behind them. So watch out. And as far as Tennessee, I don't even know what to tell you as far as Marcus Mariota. I just don't. Look, this was something that was completely predictable with Marcus Mariota because we predicted it and talked about it during the draft process. Wanted nothing to do with Marcus Mariota as a Jet fan. Nothing. And this is why. He's just too brittle. And you know what the most annoying part of it is if you're going to be this prone to injury, can you at least then be like Lamar Jackson on the field? Michael Vick. Can you be one of these guys that's going to run around and make plays and look like he did in college? Can you do that for me? And he hasn't. And while he's had some good games, he teases you. He has a couple of big games. Looks like he's finally about to break out with LaFleur. And he comes out of the gates, there's a stupid interception, and then gets hurt again. It's typical Marcus Mariota. And I would be frustrated if I'm a Titan fan. Frustrated. Because do you want to give this guy a new contract when his time is up? Why would you do that? I'm telling you right now, if you are the Tennessee Titans, you better be starting even this draft process. You got to go, because there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks drafted in the middle rounds this year. You got to go get one. You cannot. That's what I said a couple of years ago about the Dolphins. Just because you say you're going to ride with this guy and give him a big contract to be around a few years, Make sure you have someone waiting. Dolphins didn't do that. Titans have got to have somebody in waiting when the time comes, and they got to decide what to do with Mariota just in case. This way, they don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, we got to mortgage the future on another first-round draft pick, early round guy, trade up to get him. Because sometimes you get a guy in the third or fourth round, he sits around for a year or two in the same system, and then you just take him out there, and he's a lot more capable and ready, and maybe he's your guy. We'll talk more about that during the draft process, but that's coming up soon enough. Too early to talk, really, about the draft, but can't wait. All right, so that'll wrap it up for Dave Cokin of Covers.com. And for Scott Engel of RotoExperts.com, I'm Greg DePalma, and this has been the OFN Today on the Our Lads Football Radio Network. Alpha Mike Foxtrot.